Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful multiverse and the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Correllian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. Today is Wednesday when we normally talk about Correllian Publishing, and ordinarily our guest today would be Krys Copeland, but Krys is on vacation. And so I will probably talk a bit about Correllian Publishing, but I'm also going to be doing mini readings today. And I may talk about some other things as well. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your questions or comments into whatever channel or platform you happen to be watching on, and they will appear here in my chat room. And first thing I'm going to do today, yep, we are or appear to be broadcasting live on YouTube, as we should be. Oh, and hello to Black Crystal in the chat room. It's good to see you, Black Crystal. If you were watching yesterday, you'll know that we had a problem with our YouTube broadcast. And one of the things I was talking about is how you handle a problem. Oh, and hello to Nicholas in the chat room. And it's good to see you. And one of the things I said was, my solution to the fact that we were having trouble with our YouTube broadcast was that I would go and find out what the problem was, and I would solve it. I was not going to throw a temper tantrum. I wasn't going to vague book about it. I wasn't going to blame 20 other people for it. I was going to go see what was happening and correct it. And today, it is corrected. So if you're watching us on YouTube at this moment, this is an object lesson in how to successfully handle things in life. And if I couldn't have corrected it, I would have continued looking for the right way to correct it. And hello to Renee in the chat room. One of the most common sayings in the English language, but also one of the wisest, in my opinion, is don't cry over spilt milk. If you've spilled your milk, crying over it doesn't change the situation at all. Cleaning up the mess changes the situation. Going and getting more milk if you can changes the situation. Looking for something to replace it changes the situation. A bunch of emotions don't change the situation. Yes, you may have the emotions, but they must not be what dictates your behavior, especially in situations where a lot may be riding on the situation. You need to think your way through it. You need to find the solutions. And we have a guest. Hi, Puppy. This is Puppy, otherwise known as Bella, who's getting herself completely caught in my wires. But say hello to everyone, Bella. And she says, I don't see anyone. But that's okay. Everyone say hello to Bella. Good girl. Bella will now look for a piece of discarded paper or paper towel or anything else she can chew up while I'm on air, but that's okay. She's a puppy. Bella is one of two puppies here. The other one is called Other Puppy, and they're both very sweet. And Janet says hello to Janet. Janet says, good day to you, Lord Don. Hello, Bella. And Black Crystal has asked for a mini reading, so let's do a mini reading for Black Crystal. I'm going to shuffle my cards. And Black Crystal says hello, Bella. Hi, Bella. She may be back. And Nicholas says she could fit in a teacup. Yes, she could. I think that's actually one of the names for her kind of dog. So, reading for Black Crystal. And since there was no question, this will be a general reading. And I'll be drawing 3 cards for Black Crystal. Now, the fact that Bella is so small, and other puppy, whose actual name is Ember, is even smaller, makes it very easy to pick them up and love on them, which is nice. And even when they make a mess, it's a small mess. Why? Because they're small. And for Black Crystal, we are drawing the following 3 cards. 5 of Lamps, 9 of Swords, and the Magus. So the 5 of Lamps, it is a desire for renewal, pursuing renewal, regeneration, new beginnings, trying to find or refine your purpose, looking for where you need to be at this moment. In the story behind the card, the lady is heading off on a vision quest. And you're kind of in that position too. You're looking for where you need to be now. Along the way, you're going to have to deal with something you'd really rather not deal with. This may be a shadow issue, maybe a physical issue. Either way, it's not as frightening, not as difficult as it might appear to you. This is called the Ghastly Nightmare card. And part of what that means is that, like a nightmare, the situation isn't really harmful. Your reaction to it could be. Don't let it panic you. Don't let it worry you. Face it head on. Because the only thing you need to worry about with a nightmare is falling out of bed because you're afraid of it. So deal with your situation head on, and you'll find you can resolve it far more easily than you think. And this is part of that search for renewal. It's followed by the Magus. And the Magus is the ability to do really whatever you want. And it's saying that what you're going to find as you go through this, so you have all the skills, all the abilities, all the opportunity to make whatever it is you decide you want. It might not seem like it now, but it will come to be that way. Is that way, but you'll come to see it. So understand you've got everything you need. You just have to get to the point you understand this. And so it's going to be a time of self-examination, self-discovery, having to deal with some things you'd rather not deal with, but you come out of it in a very strong position. So not, in that sense, a bad reading. And then our next person is Nickery. And so I'm going to shuffle cards for Nicholas, who's also called Nickery. And I'm going to draw some cards for Nickery. And I actually kind of like doing this kind of reading. And I've talked about that before. You know, for years, I was not available for psychic readings except at occasional charity events. Partly because I came to the point I needed a rest, but I'm quite rested now. And I've been enjoying reading on the air this way and connecting with people through this medium. And I will point out, if you'd like to get a full reading with me, you can book one through CorrellianPublishing.com, or you can instant message me on Facebook and set one up, or email me at donlewishp@aol.com. And now we will draw 3 cards for Nickery. And Black Crystal says, "Thank you, Lord Don. I can move forward now." Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. You know, that's what every psychic wants to know, that the reading has been helpful. And I will say, in working psychic fairs, because you don't always ever see the client again, because psychic fair circuits go to all kinds of different locations, and though they go back every few months, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll see the same people. So you don't always know the effect of your readings. But let us go on to our next reading. But what I was going to say is it's very nice to hear when you are in a position that the reading has been helpful, that it has meaning to the person, and later to find out what happened in the long run is very helpful to know that you're doing things well. Tower is the first card for Nicolai. And the Tower is change, transformation, and breakthrough. Some people take the Tower in a negative sense because it's the wiping away of old structures, the wiping away of old systems, but it allows the new ones to come in. So I perceive it as a very positive card. Lady Crystal, who was my teacher, considered this her favorite card. And she held that this was the thing she most liked to see in a reading. What it means is you're going to break through barriers, you're going to move forward, but you will probably be letting go of some things in that process. With it is time. And time says, well, yes, but this is a process. You have to give it the time to take its full effect. You must have patience. And if you do that, you'll be pleased with the result, because the result is the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is the wish card, both the best card and the worst card in the deck, depending what you do with it. And that's because what you wish for in the outcome of this situation is what you will get. So make sure you're wishing for what you really want. And when we say wish, that's also expect. So if you're in a situation, for example, where you fully believe you can have the best possible outcome, you'll have the best possible outcome. If you're in a situation where you truly believe you're going to fail, well, that's what you're wishing for too. So make sure that your focus is on the positive and on the best you can get, and you will get it. So that's your reading, Nicolai. And hello to Jade in the chat room. It's good to see you. Jade would like a general reading, and hello to Angie, who would like a reading on the subject of love. So I'm going to shuffle my cards for Jade. And Jade starts by saying, am I okay? And that I can answer without reading the cards. I assure you, you are okay. You may not feel okay at this moment, but no matter what is happening, I promise you, you're okay. You just need to get to the point you feel that way. No matter what is happening around you, and Nicholas says, my wish is for stability. Well, you're going to have it. I would say from these cards. So that's a great wish. So back to Jade. Let us draw 3 cards to speak to her situation. But are you okay? I'm quite certain you are and will be okay. But that doesn't help anything. So we'll draw 3 cards. And our first card is the King of Wands. Our second card is the Princess of Cups. And our third card is Strength. Strength has a green background, so you're seeing paneling through it, but that's because I use a green screen. First card is the King of Wands. You're feeling a lot of passion at this time or in the immediate future. The things that are happening mean a great deal to you, and so you're very invested in them. So I'm not surprised that you're asking if you're okay. Your emotions may be a little overwhelming at this time. Princess of Cups says the same thing. The Princess of Cups is strong emotion. And so you may find yourself going through a time of emotions almost overwhelming you, but don't let them. Try to look beyond the emotion to the mechanics of your situation. And we have strength to say that. Strength is just what it sounds like. It says that for all that emotion, for all that you are concerned and perhaps disturbed by things going on, you're perfectly fine and you will get through it perfectly well. You need to remember that. The emotion is deceptive. I would even say, do some work on the emotion to step back from a little bit, maybe do a burning to send away the intensity of the emotion so you can look at your situation with clearer eyes. And I think you'll find that it's much simpler than it immediately seems. So often our emotions overwhelm us. I just recently watched someone that I care about and have good feelings toward completely destroy themselves, at least in one part of their life, because they were overwhelmed by emotion and unwilling to look at the practicalities of their situation. My strong advice always, and with these cards in particular, try to step back from the emotion. I'm not saying to ignore it. We should never ignore our emotions, but don't let them dominate your mind to the point that you cannot see the situation clearly. So step back from the emotion, and you'll find that you are quite able to deal with things. And hopefully that's helpful. And then Angie would like to know, we want to say hello to Steve in the chat room, and Angie would like to know if love is coming their way. So, I'm going to shuffle the cards for Angie. And before I get too far, I want to say that these readings are generally for anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. It's not, will love ever come to you ever in your life? It's, is love coming to you within maybe the next 6 months, maybe the next year? And I assume we mean romantic love. And we will draw 3 cards for Angie. Puppy, I don't hear you. Are you still here? Okay, well, let me tell you what these say. The cards we have are the 5 of Swords, the Fool, and the 8 of Cups. And what do these mean on the subject of love and whether love is coming for you? Well, the first one kind of suggests to me, well, it's not there now, which is kind of given away by the question. But it also says that you may have some inner conflict on this subject. And so I would say it's very important for you to look at what you're feeling here. Exactly the opposite of the advice I just gave for Jade. In this case, get closer to your feelings and look below the surface and see if maybe you have some negative expectations here that you can heal through shadow work. I often tell the story, I think I told it yesterday, how when I was young, I was pursuing a particular relationship and blocking it so badly that one day they were knocking on my door for a lunch date we had made, and I could not hear them. And on Lady Crystal's advice, I was able to break that blockage through shadow work and continue forward. That's my advice to you here. Look at your emotions and see if part of you isn't maybe a little afraid of having that romantic relationship. And possibly because of things that have happened in the past. Maybe for ostensibly good reasons, but you want to remember that just because something happened in the past doesn't condemn you to going through it again in the future. Different actions bring different results. So look at your feelings and see if there's anything that you can maybe adjust there. The Fool says that all the opportunity for this is right there. Hasn't happened yet, but it certainly can happen to you. So if you're wanting love to come to you, it certainly can. And then we have the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups is all the problems that you're worried about that aren't really there. Which brings us back to where we started. Look at what you're feeling and see what you can do to change that. The Eight of Cups, you can see the little man in the picture is terrified. But what he's terrified of are phantoms. And leaving aside all of the metaphysical conversations we could have, in the card, the phantoms are phantoms of his mind. These are not, it's not that they couldn't be real problems, but they're not. You don't need to be worried about them. They don't need to hold you back. So what you need to do is cut through them. Use some shadow work. If you're not familiar with shadow work, get my first degree book. It's full of shadow work. It will tell you exactly what to do, or watch the deep morgues of Correllian TV and the burning spell, because that's probably the best thing for you to do. Deal with those reservations, deal with those inner conflicts, and you'll find that, yes, then it will come to you. And logically, it may make no sense that that's what's stopping it, but it is. And I speak from experience in that. Now, Jade says, thank you, Lord Don. Thank you, Jade. I'm glad that it was helpful to you. And she says, that was quite loving of you. Good. That's how I prefer to be. I think that I think there are few problems in life that a loving attitude is not going to make better. Not, mind you, I don't say no problems, because sometimes being too loving can be enabling of bad behavior. And that has been a fault of mine at certain times in my life. I was raised to be, shall we say, infinitely consoling at times when perhaps I should have been a little harsher. And that's a lesson that I have worked on learning. But still, certainly the first response should always be love. And most commonly, it's the best. And even when it's necessary to take a harsher line, you can do it in a loving way or a non-loving way. A non-loving way is never really constructive. I would say that no matter how important it is to draw a boundary in a certain place, if you can, you should do it in the most loving way possible. Now, you might have been in a situation where that isn't possible anymore. Maybe the situation or the person has come so far over your boundaries that you've just got to scream at them for 15 minutes. Well, sometimes we get there. And you can't beat up over yourself for that either. Sometimes you may later wish to apologize for it, but we're human and we have to allow ourselves to be human. But generally, if we can find it within ourselves to handle even egregious situations in the most loving way that we can, we will be happier for it. Never mind the other person, never mind the other people. It's better for us. It's like the concept of forgiveness. I see a lot of people who, being in a place of pain, dislike the idea of needing to forgive the things that brought them there, because they don't understand that forgiving is releasing. And it does not mean not holding the person who perhaps inflicted harm on you accountable for that. It means not carrying all the emotion of it forward. And forgiveness, too, is always the best course of action, in my opinion. But as they say, forgiveness is not the same thing as forgetting. And too often people confuse these things. Forgiving is not holding on to your own negative emotions. And We should always work on that, in my opinion. Oh, there are the puppies. Both of them. Hi, puppies. Um, Other puppy is not likely to get up on camera, because she's too busy playing with Bella. But, it was very nice to be able to bring Bella on. Bella is like a little ball of furry love that growls frequently, but it's interesting because she has the same sound for every emotion. Because it's become very clear sometimes if she's growling at you, it means she likes what you're doing. And other times, you better stop. But on the other hand, there's only so much a teacup-sized dog can do to you. So if she decides to go on a terror, there's only much terror she can do. But this has been a lovely half hour. And Angie asks if they missed their reading. Yes, we did do that. And she says, I will rewind back if so. And yes, you can absolutely do that. One of the nice things about this broadcast and virtually every broadcast we do is you can watch it later. You don't have to catch it live. And we have film going back at Correllian TV 20 years, longer than anyone else. And it is our commitment to maintain those moorings, ideally forever, certainly throughout our lifetime. And hello to Arlene in the chat room. It's good to see you. And we are now at the end of our half hour, but I was going to take a moment to mention one last thing. We have many books available at Correllian Publishing, which theoretically was our subject for today, but we have 3 last copies of this one. Rev Don's Super Omnibus of Magical Incantations and Invocations for All Occasions by myself and Marianne Kay. And this is a book of artwork and metaphysical poetry. Some people have enjoyed using it as a coloring book, but this is the collector's edition. Only 125 copies were ever printed of it, and only 3 copies are still available. And if you want one, they are now being offered again at the price of $75 for these 3 copies. And you can find those at correllianpublishing.com. With that, we've run out of time. I want to thank you for joining me. It has been a wonderful day. Thank you, Bella, for coming on screen like she had any choice once she was within arm's reach, but I think she enjoyed it. And thank you, everyone. It's good to talk to all of you. I love spending this time with you. I love this personal interaction with you. And remember, if you'd like to support my work, the best way to do that is through my Patreon at revdonlewis.com. I'm going to be making some changes to my Patreon and focusing a little bit more on leadership training and talking a little bit about not only leadership training, but leadership in everyday life, not just political or spiritual leadership, but how to better deal with situations like some of the ones we talked about today. So perhaps some of you will consider joining the Patreon, and we'll see how that develops. And with that, I want to thank you all. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be talking once again about the subject of leadership. Next week, I expect to have an interview with a paranormal researcher, which should be quite a fascinating time. Now, let us close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives. We rejoice in your presence in our lives, and we rejoice in our lives. And if sometimes we lose sight of the joy in our lives, we ask you to help us to always move back to the point that we can see it. We can see the beautiful things around us, and that we can enjoy the lessons that life has to teach us. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love. Knowing you're always with us, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. May you be blessed